Hello everyone, my name is MARYAN BOVA. I am 48 years old and I live in Sydney, Australia. Thank you for letting me be here with you today and allowing me to share something that I feel truly passionate about, and that is intentional forgiveness. My hope is that by sharing a bit about my story and what I believe is something that is really important and a gateway to your inner freedom, that you might be able to go away today with a few nuggets of wisdom that you can go away and apply to your own situation, own life. It's a little bit about me, about my background. I am internationally certified results coach. I am a registered nurse, have been for 26 years now, and I also have my graduate diploma in counselling. So clearly have immersed myself in the helping profession. And what I have seen as a common denominator across all those industries is people are really willing to go there in regards to maybe pushing themselves to get a result that they're after, maybe really sort of stepping in there and being motivated to do something for their family. And an area that I find that even like myself there for quite some time, that an area where people get really stuck in is not being able to move past some really deep-seated trauma, and even some just sort of, I guess, medium-level trauma in their life. And what I have found both in my nursing profession and in my coaching profession is that this seems to keep people stuck in cyclic patterns of behavior, of being able to be triggered very easily, and sadly find that they end up repeating some cyclic patterns because they haven't given it any time for conscious and unconscious time to really delve into what is in that trauma, and really working on really sort of digging deep and finding the nuggets, the gifts of wisdom that lie in that rubble of that trauma. So what is intentional forgiveness? Intentional forgiveness really is doing the work and being willing to look for the nuggets of wisdom and the gifts that lie in what we would normally deem as something that is traumatic. What isn't intentional forgiveness, what it's not, is condoning the behavior, the act, the experience that caused the trauma in the first place. It is certainly not that. Forgiveness is a word that is shrouded with a lot of influence, perhaps, if you like, from religious experiences growing up. I certainly grew up in a Catholic family, so I still have that essence of forgiveness being, well, God damn it, if I don't forgive that experienced person, I'm just as bad and I'm heading to hell. There's lots of things, and I have certainly found that a wall can tend to go up when you talk about forgiveness. And certainly from my own personal experience, and it is something that I have really, it's become very much part of my personal growth, my spiritual life, to really have that as a centerpiece. And that has been one of the biggest gifts in my life in the last 10 years. And I'll just share with you a little bit about my story and how it came to be that was something that was just such a message for me going forward. So like many of you, I have a background, I have a history growing up of trauma. And for me, that was having an experience for a year of sexual abuse. Obviously with that comes a lot of feeling of isolation, of manipulation, of no control, of a power imbalance, of just total body disgust. It's no surprise that ensuing that, to try and deal with it with no words to articulate how that experience was, to not have the ability mentally and emotionally to process any of that. My body, as the book says, kept the score. So a 10-year eating disorder ensued. So harmful that I ended up in hospital for 6 weeks because of it. But as time went on and the patterning of the eating disorder I started to release a bit of that, I remember distinctly asking myself, who am I and what am I without that eating disorder? Who am I and what am I without that sexual abuse story? And over the years, this tended to be the gateway, a door opening, if you like, to what it would mean for me to be able to release that and look for the nuggets and look for the wisdom that was in that. To cut a long story short, I'd done the work around the abuse, and there came a point in time where there was really nothing more that I could do. And I asked myself the question, what am I going to choose to do? Am I going to choose to continue to beat myself up when that person, that experience is long past? And if I continue down that track of persecuting myself, persecuting the other person, it is affecting only me and the people that I am now responsible for. I have 3 beautiful girls with my wonderful husband. If I continued to be re-traumatized by my emotions, by my triggers, by everything wrapped up in that experience, then I now have a responsibility to the people I'm responsible for. What became extremely important was ending cyclic trauma. That ends with me. I thankfully have, as a result, one of the nuggets that have come out of it is that I went on a personal growth journey. Perhaps without that experience, I may not have. And what has simmered to the surface as one of those beautiful nuggets that I really had to search for was I now have such an acute awareness and desire to really shift the experience of, and us being the generation that changes and stops generational cyclic pain, that I now can say that that is something that has been something within my family unit, that they won't get the residual impact of my emotional charge from that event. I was able to go to that person as an adult woman and express to them that soul to soul, I'm sure that on some level they may have regretted what they did. But I just wanted them to know that despite the harm that they caused, I was okay. I cannot tell you the freeing nature of that conversation and the gifts that just exploded for me as a result that I just could never have anticipated. I literally found my voice again. I started to believe in myself like I'd never believed in me before. There was a renewed energy in me that I had never experienced. I started to trust myself, and I started to listen to my own intuition again. There were many other gifts that came. Surprisingly was an incredible financial gift that I just was just not expecting at all. And that in turn allowed my husband to be able to stay at home whilst I started building up my coaching practice at the time. And I don't believe that any of these things would have come had I not spent deliberate, intentional time thinking about and looking for and digging and having the courage to dig for those nuggets, turning wounds into wisdom. Oprah Winfrey and Maston Kipp are very much voices for ending generational cyclic pain. I implore you to have a look at the work there. And there's a quote that says, "Today I decided to forgive you, not because you apologized or because you acknowledged the pain you caused me, but because my soul deserves peace." And that is exactly the gift of intentional forgiveness. So I implore you to look at where your life is, where maybe there might be some areas that you're feeling a little bit stuck. And have you gone so far on your own personal journey, but there are maybe experiences or people in your life that have the ability to get you off track? That was my experience in this situation, but now that's not the case. And I also had a very challenging experience. Poor mums. There's many of us that have challenging relationships with our parents, and I certainly did with my mum. God bless her. Thankfully, I went and did very intentional, deliberate work around forgiving mum and accepting her as a human being, and that, God damn it, she made some mistakes, and I'm sure I make some mistakes as a parent as well. But the work that I did was a setup for me being able to, 2 years down the track, be completely present with her as she had to traverse grade 4 brain cancer. We walked that journey along with some of my other siblings, and I cannot tell you, to be able to be emotionally, spiritually and physically present for a woman that in the past we'd had that challenging relationship, but to think that now I could be fully with her, and in the moment that she chose after all these years to say sorry for the pain that she caused, to be able to be in a place that was able to say, "It's over, Mum, it's okay, I'm here for you now," was the most liberating experience of my life. About 2 weeks before she died, in a hospital bed at home, and as we were all gathered around, I went over to her and I said, "Is there anything else I can do for you, Mum?" And I thought maybe just fluff a pillow or just make her a little bit more physically comfortable. And in that low voice that she had, I leaned over and I said, "Is there anything else, Mum?" And she said, "Go out and make people as happy as you're making me now." Those words will just ricochet for me for the rest of my life. And a key cornerstone to me being able to be present and to have received those words before she passed away, to see my mum as her most exceptional self, that she taught me how to live while you were dying in those 14 months. That had I not done the work, I would have missed witnessing the most extraordinary woman that perhaps I didn't know as a young person, but now I got to see her in all of her beautiful, feminine, gorgeous essence, and the most courageous and strong woman I've ever met. So now I will do as my mother asked. I will do as much as I can to spread the message of intentional forgiveness and the gifts that it brings. So I hope in there somewhere today, just by sharing a little bit about my story, that this somehow echoes in your world, and maybe, just maybe, you might just give another look and maybe a reframe of that trauma that you experienced. And there are gifts. You can go from wounds to wisdom. Thank you.